It's the Brad and John Show.
It is the Brad and John, man, this show's a wreck this morning. It is the Brad and John Show. Today's date is the 24th of March. Am I correct on that, John?
You got it exactly right.
And this is the B Block. And with the B Block, we start off with...
It's time for Brad's Top 3.
We do. And we start off with this one.
It's number 3.
John, I'm going to ask you a question. And then I'm going to give you my story I think is sort of interesting. Where do you stand on this time zone thing where they're talking about getting rid of daylight savings time? I mean, are you pro, con, or what's your stance on this? I'm just curious.
I don't care at all. And my 10-second answer is I adapt to the time change as well because I use foresight, especially when it comes to springing ahead. And if you're really worried about time zones, I think you probably should focus on more pressing issues in your life.
Well, I heard something yesterday, and if you know, matter of fact, this passed a couple of years ago. Wasn't the vote like 99-1 where they're going to make a standard time zone? This is in the U.S. Senate, where they were going to make the standard was going to be, I think they were going to go for daylight savings time, essentially, which would essentially, forever we would essentially lose an hour because daylight savings time is springing forward. So we'd lose an hour out of our history. But yesterday, I heard something. I thought to myself, okay, this is really stupid. Okay, they're talking about the fact that in Georgia, this is the state of Georgia wants to settle this once and for all. The problem is they have to get, the way this works, they have to get congressional approval if they essentially get rid of daylight savings time. But they've found a loophole in the law. And the loophole in the law is if they move to another time zone, they don't have to get congressional approval. All they have to get is, and I don't understand this at all they have to get is the blessing of the Department of Transportation chief, in this case, Mr. Duffy. So all they have to do is go to Mr. Duffy and say, we would like to change time zones. Now, here's the interesting part. Do you know what time zone they want to switch to?
They would want to switch to mountain time.
No, they want to switch to Atlantic time, which, if I'm not mistaken, I don't believe...
That'd be an hour ahead.
Yes, but here's the interesting thing. The Atlantic time zone does not observe any daylight savings times. So in other words, by them, they do an end run around the federal approval, where they still have to get one guy to approve it. But instead of getting the whole Congress to approve it, which would probably be really tough, they have to just go to the DOT chairperson and say, we want to move into the Atlantic time zone. And the Atlantic time zone would put them on, and this is the interesting thing, would put them on the same time as Eastern time zone in daylight savings time. But since they don't switch time zones, the Atlantic time zone, that would be the same thing as not having daylight savings time. Does that make sense to you, John?
Yeah, I get it. And so is this something that a handful of people in Georgia care about? Or
No.
Is it like a bunch of libertarians who are like, we've been working on this for 60 years, we need to finish this before we die? What's going on here?
Well, this is the state of Georgia, and what they're doing is they're also lobbying. Now, this is where it gets interesting. They're lobbying because my son gets involved in this. They are also lobbying North and South Carolina, which are to the north of them, and to the south of them, Florida. Now, here's what's interesting, because Florida is already split on two time zones, and until my son moved to Florida, I had no idea that
sorry to interrupt, but Pensacola and those beautiful white beaches are amazingly on our same time zone.
Yes, they're on the central time zone. And when you get further east, that's when it clicks into the eastern time zone. So essentially, this would make, if the state of Florida moved into the Atlantic time zone, it would make a 2-hour difference between the mainland, or the main part of Florida, and the Panhandle, which was see, once upon a time, I was doing business in Indianapolis, and I had to make appointments in Indianapolis. And I'm always thinking to myself, okay, now hold on a minute now. What time is it in Indy now? Because it's at a point where not all of Indiana, but most of Indiana does not observe daylight savings time, as does not Arizona. They don't observe daylight savings time as well, too. Or I can't remember which one it is. It
is. Excuse me. It is Arizona because they have a wonky time zone thing.
Right.
Now, do you care about this? Like, do you have an opinion on this? I don't have an opinion on it.
Okay, I do have an opinion on this, and you're going to laugh at my opinion.
What is it?
I think I mentioned this on the air a couple weeks ago before you went on vacation, and I was crying every day because you weren't here. My good client Mike McGee, McGhee. When
He's your fun financial advisor.
Yes, he's my fun financial advisor. And when I was in a leads group with him, he would always start off his little presentation by saying, I want to give you a fun fact. Just 2 weeks ago, I gave him a fun fact. Did I say this on the air about India, the country of India?
No, they're sending all their people to West St. Louis County?
No. This is what's interesting about India. India has one time zone for the entire country, but and I've talked about this before, I don't know to you, which I found fascinating because I'm sort of fascinated by time and time zones. They don't go by the typical time zones by the hour. Right now, whatever time is in the United States, right now, look at my clock, it's 7:32, okay? In India, it would be 10:02. Does that make any sense? In other words...
Wait, repeat that, Brad?
Okay. Now it's 7:33 here, okay? In India, the time zone is a half an hour off from the other time zones. In other words, when you're like to the east of India, and let's say it's 8 o'clock what would that be, like in Russia or something like that?
Yeah. Oh, I get what you're saying. So, but why would they change their time by 30 minutes? I don't get it.
Well, what's interesting is there are countries around the world that change it by 15 and 45 minutes. So, like, for example, right now it's 7:33 in the central time zone, but in some place around the world, and I can't remember, there's 2 or 3 countries that do this, it would be whatever their local time zone, it would be 48 instead of being like, 10:48 or 10:33, it would be 10:48. So the crazy part of this is, and the thing with India is they decided they wanted to have this universal time zone. So that's why they went with a half-hour offset, because across the entire country of India, which is a pretty large country, that would make it better for them having the sun rise and set and things like that. So the time zone thing to me is it's just so stupid. I mean, all the things, and every year, and we just went through it, a couple weeks ago. There's these news stories. Oh, there's all these people who won't be able to function for the next 2 weeks. You know what I say to them?
What do you say, Brad?
I say they should buy a radio station, and I've got the call letters for them, WIMP. How the hell is 1 hour going to screw your life up? I don't understand that. Unless
People
you're like...
will always look for something to complain about, Brad. Now, I always see a factoid that says that it leads to, and I don't believe anything I read, but some idea of like the incidences of heart attacks in the first month after the time change increase. And like, there's apparently all these health maladies. Are people that fragile that they can't handle a time change?
John, I'm with you 100%. I'm thinking to myself, okay, I have friends of mine. I have one friend of mine who was an international business executive and traveled all over the world. I mean, all over the world on a routine basis. And I would say to her, I don't know how you do it. She goes, hey, you get used to it after a while. Now, look at our president. Our president, not necessarily Trump, but, well, Sleepy Joe's a different situation. But Trump is flying like from, United States into Europe, and he's on this time zone, and he's on that time zone. It doesn't seem like it bothers him one iota. You know what I'm saying? You never hear him here and saying, oh, I just got back from China, and I'm trying to adapt to the jet lag. Oh, can you talk to me tomorrow? No, the guy's always got energy, as opposed to Sleepy Joe, who would even like when he would say, I just got back from China 3 months ago and I'm still trying to adapt to the time zone change. You know what I'm saying, John?
Yeah, and Joe was more concerned with slipping into a wide box, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's his shoes. Okay, ready for number 2?
Yes, sir.
It's time for Brad's number 2. It's time for Brad's number 2.
Some people, like John, make fun of the fact that radio is dead. I read this fascinating story last night. You heard the story about how, and I don't know if it's happening here in St. Louis, how Tom Homan has dispatched some of the ICE agents to the airports to help with the TSA check-throughs. You know what I'm saying, John?
No. Is there a headline about it on johncombest.com today? Yes. Tell us about it, Brad.
But here's what's interesting. You know where that idea came from?
Where did it come from?
A caller on the Buck and Clay show, or the Clay and Buck show, brought that up. And then Clay Travis was on Jesse Waters' show on Fox that night. And Trump saw the show that night and said, what a great idea. And that's how it came to be, from a radio show.
Wow, from a radio ad, Brad.
A radio
and
show.
Then Trump got on television and said, did you know 120% of people listen to radio 27 hours a day? It was a game changer. And then Trump said every car should be equipped with AM radio, FM radio, satellite radio, and ham radio.
And police band radio, so you can hear them as they pull you over, like with me, when they'd run my license plate, and then they felony traffic stop, backup requested, and they pull me out of the car. No.
Brad, that's a good anecdote for the value of radio. Way to go. Now, did they know? I heard that on the Clay and Buck show, 80% of listeners are women, because that's according to format. That's what I heard, Brad.
John's just going to give you up. No, but what's sort of funny about this is, there's an interesting part of this thing what Trump did, and this is like, once again, Trump needling the Dems, because the Dems are the ones standing behind this thing. The Homeland Security, which is under the DHS, Department of Homeland Security. Okay, yeah. DHS. Okay. Not only is ICE under Homeland Security, but TSA is as well too. Okay. So, and you're saying, well, now hold on a minute now. How come the TSA guys aren't getting paid, but the Homeland Security guys, and they're under Homeland Security, but the ICE guys, who are also under Homeland Security, aren't getting paid? Do you know the deal on that story?
No, what is it?
Because in the big, beautiful bill, they thought this was going to happen. They thought they were going to, the Democrats were going to try to stop the spending for the DHS. So what they did was they pulled the ICE budget out of the DHS budget and put it somewhere else, and they funded the ICE people. So this is like a stick in the eye to the Dems, because if you take the ICE guys, which they hate, and you send them to the airport to try to straighten out the mess in the airport. By the way, I don't know if you heard this or not, but yesterday on the Eric Erickson show, he was giving real-time, apparently there's a website, Heartland International Airport in Atlanta. He was giving real-time estimates of how long it took you to get through TSA checkpoint. One time it was over 5 hours. 5 hours. Can you imagine?
That's nothing, Brad.
Yeah. So the whole point of this is the TSA agents are not getting paid, but the ICE guys are. So if we send the ICE guys to the airport, the Dems are going to, I can't believe they're doing that. But then, of course, the Dems came out and said, it takes 6 months to train a TSA agent. And I'm thinking to myself, come on. I mean, you've been through the TSA. You've been through the checkpoints, right? How does it take 6 months for you to say, hold your hands out, turn around, I'm going to wand you? Is there like a 2-month course on wanding? Is that what it is?
Yeah. And then there's an entire day dedicated to shouting at your coworkers, hey, I finna go on break. hey, when's my break?
Or when the attractive women comes through, they go, body check, right? That's what they do.
Brad, why do you got to be tawdry? I want to hear what story number 1 is.
And now, big finish, Brad's number.
John, I have to admit something to you. I've told this story. It'll be 2 weeks ago today. I went to the Cottleville Weldon Springs Chamber of Commerce meeting, and they had an in-depth presentation by the ambulance district, St. Charles County Ambulance District, and the fire dudes about this new tax that they have on the ballot, which is 2 weeks from today. 2 weeks from today, okay? And just yesterday, I saw something that I thought to myself, that can't be right. So I'm going to ask you a question. Would you mind if I tried to get I think his name's Skip Stevens. He used to be like the head dude at Cottleville. I think he's like the head dude at the SCAD now, or even Kyle Gaines. Would you mind if I asked them on the show to talk about this tax proposal? Because
absolutely, Brad. I think that would be a great public service.
Because here's what's interesting. I thought the fire, who's asking for a 1-cent sales tax increase in St. Charles County, and the EMS thing was together. They're separate. So if both of them pass, the sales tax in St. Charles County would go up by 2%. 2%.
Yeah. Now, I think, to their credit, I think like Mid Rivers News Magazine has covered this pretty well. I remember reading that, Brad, and being like, oh, wow, that's pretty stiff.
Yeah, kidding.
That's a pretty significant increase.
Now, here's what's interesting. I want to talk about this in the C block, because of the fact that there's another thing that I heard yesterday. I thought to myself, I never thought about that, okay? And here I'm going to throw this out, John. With Kehoe pushing this thing of getting rid of the state income tax and moving this to a sales tax, does that mean that municipalities, like let's say you've got a very rich neighborhood like you live in the Chesterfield, Wildwood area, where there is a dog groomer like every third block. It's almost like going by Walgreens or CVS's. There's our Edward Jones offices. There's one of those offices every third block.
One in every strip mall. Go ahead. I'm tracking with you.
One in every strip mall. Okay. Right now, if you get your dog groomed, you pay zero tax. Whatever the grooming is, if it's $100, you gave them a $100 bill like John always pays in cash. You give them a $100 bill and you walk out with your dog. But does this mean that if they put the tax on services, that the munis now get this additional tax, that it's a regular sales tax? So in other words, if let's say for the sake of argument, Chesterfield is 9%, that your dog grooming will now cost you $109, and that money that had never been collected on services will now go not only to the state, but to the munis and all the other people that get a piece of the pie in the sales tax? Is that what that means?
I don't know. I think it depends on where the dog groomer lobby comes in, Brad. I think that's why the dog groomer lobby has been spending so much time in Jeff City lately, lobbying against this.
But think about that for a minute, because if you have, let's say, an area that gets a lot of sales tax, one of them would be like St. Peter's. St. Peter's has a lot of retail, so there's a lot, and especially O'Fallon. Drive them down Highway K. Okay, so if you get that sales tax right now, and all of a sudden there's all these services on Highway K, like for example, if you get your car fixed at Dobbs, the labor is not taxed, but it would be taxed. Is that a windfall for O'Fallon and all the munis then?
That's a great question, Brad. I don't know the answer to that.
Okay, we'll have to have somebody on. Okay, we'll talk about that in the C block, because I have one other thing I need to talk about in the C block, okay? You ready to take a break?
Yeah, let's do it.